Day 7 of Black History Month, 28 Days of Black Excellence. I'm your host, Faith Moore, and today we're going to the world of activism. As you see, I have a hoodie on today, and the reason for that being, I was just enthralled with the story of this woman. Who was she? She was born Araminta Ross, March 1822, or maybe 1820, or maybe 1825. And she died March 10th, 1913. Her grandmother came to America on a slave ship from Africa. She was an American abolitionist and political activist. She was born into slavery and then escaped and made some 13 missions to rescue approximately 70 enslaved people, including her family and friends, using the Underground Railroad. I'm sure you know who this is. It's Harriet Tubman. Now, who was this woman? What did she do? What happened in her life? There are so many details, so let's get to it. Harriet took her mother's first name, Harriet, and her husband's last name, Tubman, and that's the name that we know for her today. Born enslaved in Dorchester County, Maryland. As a child, she was put to work really hard and she had to care for other people's babies. She was beaten and whipped by different masters. And for one particular incident, her overseer actually threw something really heavy at another slave that seemed to be escaping, but it hit her instead. And it caused a lifetime of pain, dizziness. She would get seizures and she would black out. They would call it hypersomnia. And this happened throughout her entire life. On the positive side, after her injury, Harriet began experiencing these visions and dreams. And she would say that she was hearing from God and she would get like visions or like premonitions, you could say, that would let her know in advance what she should or shouldn't do. And so, combining this with her upbringing as a Christian, as a Methodist, she was a super religious person. From her mother, she learned in different incidences the power of resistance, and this carried with her through her whole life. In 1849, Tubman made her first escape to Philadelphia with her brothers, but they wanted to go back, so she had to go back and plan something else. And later she did end up going and returning to get her family. She would use the Underground Railroad and she would use, I don't want you to see me, but I'll let you see me. I'll do it like this. She would use the Underground Railroad and spirituals to let people know, specifically the slaves know what was happening. So, for example, the song I'm Bound for the Promised Land would mean that she was headed to the north and she was taking people with her. I am bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I am bound for the promised land. And another one she would use a lot was Go Down Moses. Moses was actually a nickname that she was given because, like the Moses in the Bible, she was wanting to free her people, let my people go. The Israelites, God was like, Pharaoh, let my people go. And so the song, she would change depending on what it meant in that particular instance, if it was dangerous or if it was safe to go. It goes like this. When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. So in hearing that song, they would know, okay, Moses, Harriet is here and she's ready to take us to freedom. So Slowly, one group at a time, she would take her relatives at first, and then other slaves that wanted to be freed. And eventually, she was just very successful. She would travel by night, and they would follow the North Star in extreme secrecy. And she says that she never lost a passenger because because there was a law that was put in place, a fugitive slave law. It became harder and harder to get people to uh, kind of aid and abet because there was more risk if you were seen with a fugitive slave. So she started taking people not just to the north of the United States, but to southern Ontario, the St. Catharines area. Um, so yes, she also helped them to find work, which was amazing. And she was instrumental in helping John Brown with the 1859 raid at Harper's Ferry. Look that up because that is a whole thing unto itself. And look him up, John Brown. She also ended up being an integral part in the Civil War, acting as a nurse, as a scout, which is another word for a spy, and she was actually leading some of these groups as an armed soldier with a gun in hand and everything. And as far as I understand it, she would travel with this gun not just to keep them safe, the slaves that she was taking, but also to to threaten them if they even hinted at or were afraid that they might go back. If they were deciding, hey, you know what, this is too risky, I want to go back, I know what to expect on the plantation, she'd say, no, you said yes, we've come this far, and you are continuing on because it would put them in too much danger. So she also guided the raid at Combahee Ferry. Read up about that because that's also very interesting, and it was very successful. She she did so many things. What's really awesome is that there have been book after book, and there have been movies. Like even recently, Cynthia Erivo starred in a movie entitled Harriet. Very recently, I'm not sure if it's. I know that you can rent it on YouTube or buy it, and I was going to do that before this broadcast, and I decided, you know what, I want to just focus on getting you this information, and then I will sink into the story in a different way later on. But definitely check that one out as well. There was controversy surrounding that film, but it's good. It's good. Still check it out. So what the way that she did the escapes was really interesting. Um, one thing that happened was, unfortunately, she went back to get her husband. She saved up money from different jobs that she had, and she bought him a suit because she knew that he would need to have something presentable to wear so that he would be able to fit in. So when she got to Mr. John Tubman, he had already married someone else. And so she said, okay, cool, but like, let's go. And he says, no, you know what? My life is comfortable here. I'm okay. So she'd risked her life to come in and rescue this man that she had married. He was like, no, I'm good. So she would never want to waste a trip. So she went and found other slaves that wanted to be freed, and she took them up north with her. I just thought that was like really unfortunate. My goodness. Yeah, she had to suppress her anger. So she was a humanitarian throughout her time. She did this for no pay. She was able to get her parents to the north, to Canada, and then she said, well, they decided it was too cold in Canada. I can't imagine what they were thinking. So she brought them down to Auburn, New York, and they had a home there. I mean, yeah, winters are cold. Winters are cold. I understand. Towards the end of her life, she was actually quite destitute because while she was in the army, well, with the Union soldiers, they didn't pay her a salary. And even the fact that her new husband had worked for the government, they really didn't want to give her her flowers or her money. And it's not really that different a story. It's just super unfortunate. But in her passing and in her later days, she had friends who would raise money for her. And the government eventually did decide, okay, we're going to pay kind of like back pay for the time that she spent serving the country. So the impact of this woman, over 11 years, she returned back and forth over and over to the eastern shore of Maryland, and she rescued about 70 slaves in 13 expeditions, including her brothers and wives and some of their children, but her sister and her children she was never able to rescue, which I know she would have, it would have been unfortunate for her. One more thing I wanted to mention that was really interesting. The way that she would time these escapes. She would do them in the winter months. So, for one thing, it was colder, so people would be in their homes, so less people to see the escaping slaves, for one thing. Also, they would leave on a Saturday evening because the newspapers would be all shut down and they wouldn't be getting the post until Monday. And so they would have more time to get away. So I just thought that was really incredible. But yeah, this is a life to dig into. This is a courageous life. And in her own words, in fact, there's just so much. Okay, so she has museums in her honor. She has she made a home for the aged, for older people, colored people that didn't have money, for them to have a place that was safe to stay. And she ended up spending her final days there and passing away with among family and friends. But there was that location. There's the Harriet Tubman Book Prize, films, theater, opera, books, monuments, memorials. She has an asteroid in her name called the Tubman, a ship, and soon to be the $20 bill. The U.S. Treasury Department in 2016 made plans to put her on the other side of Andrew Jackson. And at the time, there was a new administration that came in 2016. You might have heard about it. And so the new U.S. Treasury Secretary kind of pushed that to the side. So with the new administration, January of 2021, they have returned to that expedited plan to put Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. So that's some exciting stuff. In her own words, she said, "I was the conductor of the Underground Railroad for 8 years, and I can say what most conductors can't say. I never ran my train off the track, and I never lost a passenger." What can we do today in the spirit of Harriet Tubman? The spirit of courage and just fearlessness in the face of imminent death. I don't wish that on anyone, but what can we do in that spirit? I challenge you to be the first, to be the most courageous, to be the best, to be the one we talk about for years to come. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Today, we met Harriet Tubman, an incredible figure in Black history. We look back so we can look forward to a better world. See you tomorrow when we'll talk about another amazing Black hero. And wherever you're watching, whether on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, I'm Faith Amour, and I thank you for watching. Bye-bye.